Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today we're going to be unboxing Fallout New California, a board game expansion for the original Fantasy Flight produced Fallout. So if you don't know anything about this game, I have done an unboxing on the channel for the original base game of Fallout from Fantasy Flight Games, which I'll link to in this video, as well as we did a full showcase of an actual playthrough of that Fallout base game that you can check out as well if you're interested to see how this game plays. And on top of that, this new expansion that we're going to dive into during this video really does flush out that original base game, adding new mechanisms into the game, additional content, and some changes that I think solo players are really going to be excited about. So without further ado, let's flip this thing over on the back and see what Fallout New California has for us. California, sunshine, ocean breezes, and radioactive wasteland as far as the eye can see. This desolate coastal state was once a shining jewel, but since the Great War, the region known as New California has fallen into chaos, which is great news. Where there's chaos, there's loot. The New California expansion brings new quests, companions, vaults, and new items to Fallout the board game, a new cooperative scenario, which also allows survivors to work together, and new map tiles expand the board for more exploratory fun. Sun's out, guns out. Do you have what it takes to conquer New California? Now, one of the major reasons I'm excited for this expansion is because of that new cooperative scenario, allowing survivors to work together, meaning that in a solo capacity you can, because anything that is cooperatively playable is soloable, which makes things really cool because you can actually create a team to kind of go out into the wasteland together, which makes this game and adds a kind of a different element to what was originally in the base game. So without further ado, we're going to actually take the top of the box off and find out about the components firsthand. So as soon as you dive into the box for Fallout New California, you're going to run into this pamphlet right here, which lists out your components. Of course, it's going to be much smaller than the normal rulebook that comes in the base game, but it's going to give you an idea of all the different things we're going to see up close and personal here, like new map tiles, 6 new scenario sheets, some plastic figures or miniatures, 6 character cards, 5 character special tokens, some more enemy tokens added in, and a bunch of those additional cards to go into new decks. So 25 wasteland cards, 22 settlement, 19 vault cards, 32 quest cards, 9 special cards, along with some loot, asset, and unique asset cards to flush out those decks. A couple extra perks, actually 7 of them, 6 faction tokens, 6 quest markers, and some more caps tokens. Now, first off, I am doing a Fallout Wasteland Warfare game showcase on the channel, and I really find that the Nuka-Cola caps that are actually a part of the product line from that product are a fantastic way to basically bolster or make this particular version of Fallout, which is very different than the Fallout Wasteland Warfare, as this is more of a board game format than a miniature game, which is what Wasteland Warfare is. But the Nuka-Cola caps, if you pick them up for Wasteland Warfare, you can easily use them as currency within this product as well, and I really recommend that you do that because it definitely adds to the immersion factor when you're actually playing around with legitimate caps in the game. So once you get to the punch boards, there are a number of them. We're going to go through them one at a time so you can see them nice and up close. So we have here a box car. We've got ourselves some wasteland area, the dead end crossing, Ensmeet. So again, if you're familiar with the Fallout universe, some of these locations are going to pop at you instantly, if not all of them. And of course, we've also got the special tokens here. Some additional enemy tokens are going to be hidden around in this thing. So flipping it over, you can actually see some of those enemies. So for instance, this one right here is one of the new, the Murloc Queen. We have the Robo Brain right here. And again, there's going to be more of them as we go through this unboxing because there's more of these tiles to go through. So this is what I meant by the Nuka-Cola caps. They're actually really good looking just as punch-out tokens. But if you have those caps from Wasteland Warfare, they really do add to the feel We have the hole right here, vault number 7 on this one here. It looks like we have a town environment over here, what is left of a town, and the palisades right there, again with some more tokens in terms of additional enemies to go after when playing, plus some faction tokens mixed in there and some quest tokens. On the back side of this, there we go, we got the fire ant. So there are the stats for him, the blood bug right there. And going over to this next sheet, we have even more content to add. And again, more tiles are better because it just changes up the map, randomizes things even more. We got Vault 44, we have New California Republic, we have the hub itself, and Arroyo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And some more tokens to add into the fray. Flipping this over, we can see that we have, oh, check it out, one of my favorite super mutants, the super mutant behemoth. He is a beast. And then of course we got the acolyte up there. So it's nice to see those additions in. And then once we get past those punch boards, we get more into the cards inside the box. So we're gonna go through each one of these packages right now. So here's a nice up-close view of 3 of the 5 miniatures that come inside the game. I really do like the quality of the miniatures in this particular game. They are quite nice. You could definitely paint these up really good. So here are 3 of the individuals in terms of miniature form that you're going to have inside the game. There are 2 others as well. The detail on the miniature on the left here is absolutely fantastic. If you take a look at the gun itself, you can see all the little nooks and crannies and divots within the gun itself. There is a lot there if you're into painting and want to really make the character pop off the table. Of course, on the right here, we've got a representation, my guess would be Cogsworth from Fallout, another character that was quite comical and interesting within the Fallout universe. It could also represent many different versions of that particular mechanical droid. But basically, that is going to cover the miniatures within the box. There are 5 of them, and you have seen all 5. We'll head on through the cards. All right, so now we're going to go through the scenario sheets that come inside this new expansion. The first one we have here is Rise the Master. The Brotherhood of Steel are involved. Unity is involved as well. Now when you flip these things over, you see the actual layout of the scenarios, and of course you'll also notice, if you're familiar with the original base game, that the size of these scenarios start to grow a bit, of course due to the fact that more tiles have entered the fray from this expansion. So the size of the game board and the scenarios are getting a little bigger, which is exciting to see, being that the IP of Fallout, as we all know from the video game, is a large plot of land to explore. So now we're starting to get into some real heavy in exploration, which is cool because there's a lot of things to see in Fallout, and this game has a really interesting way in handling story and narrative, which I think is really cool for solo players. So this one's called Rise the Master. Of course, you always have a couple tiles that you can see to start before you begin your adventure. The green and red are 2 different types of tiles that are face down. They're randomized. You don't exactly know what's what until you start exploring into them. Setup instructions up top, and that's basically how these scenario cards work. Next one up here is New California. This one's exciting because this is actually the card which references the cooperative play that I was talking about, we saw on the back of the box. And what's cool about it is the fact that, again, if you can play something cooperatively, it means you could easily go ahead and solo this multi-handed if you wanted to, which just sounds pretty awesome. And of course, you'd be going up against the Enclave, at least in this one. And if you flip it over, you can take a look at the layout for the back. This is exactly how it would look. And again, size-wise, things are getting bigger. Next up here, we got the pit, has the rebel slaves involved and the slavers. We'll go ahead and flip it over and see what the layout for this one looks like. That's quite a bit different. So most of the revealed tiles are at the top of the map, and you explore south, with the crossroads camp a little further south. Next scenario is the Capital Wasteland, the Brotherhood of Steel and the Enclave. Flipping this over, we can see here we got the Crossroads, Megaton, the Mall, Project Purity, and the Tower mixed in there. Looks like we have some markers to start it off, so it's really cool to see additional scenarios. It's really going to flush the game out, and these extra tiles really are going to add a lot of replayability. The next one here, we have the Commonwealth, the Railroad, and the Institute are involved. Flipping this over, this is the layout for this particular expansion, or I should say scenario. One other thing I've noticed, I've seen the word expanded at the very, very top of this particular card, and all that means is it just means the particular scenario it's talking about, and this is the expanded instructions. It doesn't necessarily mean that there is another Commonwealth scenario, and this is the expanded version. It's basically just going to say Fall Harbor on the back of this one, expanded, because there's two sides. And of course, we're all familiar with Fall Harbor. So Fall Harbor and the Children of the Atom. Flipping it over to the opposite side, you can see it saying Fall Harbor expanded. This is the layout. That's a little different. We got some space in the middle. Crossroads Camp, the Nucleus, Acadia, and Far Harbor, of course. I might have said Fall Harbor for some weird reason at some point there, and if I did, please forgive me. All right, so first off, I will say that this game is no slouch in terms of including cards. There's lots of cards to go through. These are for different decks within the game, and they're all kind of all mixed together, but I want to show you what the backs of the cards look like. Very easy to distinguish, you know, in terms of categorizing and pulling them all apart, and then mixing them in with the card decks that you already have. Of course, you'll want to follow the instructions in this expansion to do so. There's a lot of spoilerish stuff going on here, so I'm going to glance over this at a pretty quick pace so I don't ruin anything. But this is essentially kind of how the deck works in terms of its story and stuff like that. There's a lot of numerical cards that basically chain off each other. They're quests, and of course, depending on how things go, success or failure, your choices, all that good stuff, you're going to go down different paths. So there's certain elements of this game that you may never even see unless you replay it enough to get there. So that's one of the other things about this game structure that's really cool. And Fallout actually came out before Arkham Horror came out, the third edition, I should say. And that third edition really did take a lot from this Fallout board game, where they really first started to introduce this type of structure in terms of storytelling through chained cards, which is carried over recently not only to Arkham Horror 3rd edition, but even more recently Star Wars Outer Rim has started to see that with the data bank deck. So I really do like that in terms of a narrative driven element to the games that Fantasy Flight are pulling out now, because they're starting to create a lot more narrative linkages into board games now, and I really like that because it gives you a reason to propel forward and find out what happens, and gives you a sense of satisfaction. Plus, questing is a major part of Fallout, as we all know from the video game, so having that sense of success in actually completing or failing quests is really a massive part of the game besides just exploring. And lastly, here we have a number of cards that are going to add in different items and all that kind of stuff into this Fallout game. We can go through these at a slower pace because of the fact that they won't be in spoiler territory here, but you've got really cool cards. Again, these are going to actually match up with some of the miniatures in the game. So the Caravan Merchant is one of the miniatures. The Lone Gunslinger is one of them. Mr. Handy, now I called him Cogsworth when I first saw him because, well, technically there's actually quite a few versions of this particular character. And then we've got NCR Ranger and the Enclave Deserter. So those are the different individuals involved. And here are the backs of the cards. Again, very easy to distinguish what is what when you're categorizing things out. So let's flip it over and see what these things are on the opposite side. So we have the Rocket Launcher. Who doesn't want one of those? The Flamer, the Harpoon Gun, Rockville Slugger, John Cassie, so we're getting into some kind of allies and things like that. Ian, Bear Traps, frag grenades, basically. Cryo grenades, those are always handy. Bobby pins, everyone loves bobby. Oh man, do I ever love collecting bobby pins in the video game. 10mm pistol, hunting rifle, 44 pistol. Oh, so good. Detective's coat, flight helmet. I love getting the extra items, it's so good. Herald. Got some junk, because you always find junk in the wasteland. You got some cap stashes, purified water. That's the best type of water you can find. Rad-X, Med-X, Berry, nice. Okay, so different flavors. That's actually kind of funny. Ultra Jet Stealth Boy, Nuka-Colas. Everyone loves colas. You open them up, get your caps as well. So good. Bottle cap mines. Those things are dangerous. We got some bobbleheads here. That's cool. So couple bobbleheads in here. Oh, that's awesome. I like that a lot. I was always a big fan of collecting those in the game, so I like seeing that. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head if those were included in the original version or if this is an additional thing. I don't think bobbleheads were in the first core game, but someone can correct me on that. But if that is the first time they're showing up, I'm happy about that. Marcus, Goris, Tesla armor, nice. Tesla rifle. Oh, these are crazy. Vault Security Armor, Nuka-Cola Quantum, Your Special. Some great items to add into the game that'll really bolster things. Love it. And then, of course, we get down here. We got some special cards. We got Heavy Lifter, concentrated fire, chem resistant, lady killer Black Widow, nerd rage, moving target, and ricochet. So the coolest thing about Fallout is just the animation of the Fallout Boy basically throughout these cards. Like, honestly, it's just fantastic what they do with this. So they've really carried that over and stuff like this with the board game, which is really cool. But that actually is going to do it. What we're going to do really quick, because there have been times where FFG, even with Star Wars Outer Rim, they put something underneath the insert, and I doubt this one has that. Nope, looks like we're all clear. So that actually is going to be the end of the unboxing. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this. Really hope this was useful. If you're trying to figure out whether or not you don't well, of course, if you don't already own the original base game, check that out first. As I mentioned, I do have an unboxing for that on the channel and a full playthrough. And then, of course, if you're interested in additional content on top of it, this is definitely the expansion to check out, as it's the only expansion for the game currently. There is also a official Fallout playmat that's also offered for this particular game that has slots, or I should say like watermarked areas for the different decks. It really does fit the theme and look really cool. I have it myself. It's very, very nice. So if you're really going all in on everything, the playmat's a really nice addition as well. But anyway, hopefully that helps you make an informed decision on what comes inside the box and whether or not it's something you'd like to pick up and add into your base game. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.